All right, great. Thanks, everybody. We'll go ahead and kick it off. For those that are new to the call, this is a weekly call that we do that is oriented to developers and engineers that are either currently building on Seneca or have interest in building on Seneca in the future. Today is a very significant call because we are going to be going through and demonstrating how you can run AI on Seneca and remove all of the issues of losing control over data and deliver a much better, much more personalized experience. So what we're addressing at Seneca is one of the central flaws of centralized infrastructure, that is, in order for two or more parties to interact and transact, there's almost always the requirement to share data. And when you share data, you lose control over that data. This leads to cyber issues, regulatory issues, and privacy issues. But what is less well known and perhaps even a bigger issue is that because of these concerns, the data that could lead to the most certain, the most trustless and hyper-personalized transaction is the least likely to be used. And these issues get exacerbated with AI. So when we talk about the future where AI can be your personal doctor, your financial planner, that can't happen if sharing data or using data means losing control. We've seen some instances. Samsung had a very publicized issue where proprietary company data was essentially inferred, or for layman's terms, sucked into an AI model. And we've also seen regulators around the world try and figure out how to address this. And a business, they can run AI on their own servers, but to really achieve the full potential of AI and deliver on the full potential, we have to bring in not just an approximation of a customer or a user. We want to bring in the full entity. All of the information or data that can be used should be used. And so what Stefan's going to show today is a step towards having your cake and eating it too, and how with Seneca and zero knowledge environments, all of these flaws and issues go away. So Stefan, with that, I'll turn it over to you and let me know if you have an issue with screen sharing.
Awesome. Thanks for the intro, Michael. First, a big shout out to our community member, Blood Prince, who is on with us today and who is the inventor of the iconic Senecube. It's been absolutely amazing. We love it. And so what we'll be showing today is a big bit of a mix between two applications, actually. So this is a fully decentralized application built on Seneca. And this is literally a dApp that builds other dApps. So we want to show how it could look like if you would, how easy it is and how straightforward it is to build a dApp on Seneca that integrates with artificial intelligence and AI models. Because many businesses have this problem right now. Everyone wants to use AI. Everyone just wants to throw in their data, throw in their company data, throw in their user data, and publish a nice, shiny chat-based applications to their customers. So we want to show how easy that can be done on Seneca, easy and private and secure. So what you see here is the main screen of our application. And it's a dApp builder, right? So it contains all the classical things that you would expect from an AI app, right? You can choose your AI model. In this particular demo, we're gonna run with a pre-trained transformer. And you can, as any company would expect, customize your application, the application that eventually will be built to this and deployed to this. So just to make this flashy, we can give our application a nice design. What we have decided for this particular demo is to create an agent, an AI agent that helps you find vitamin and supplement regimen that fits into your personal data, right? So we've all probably been at the situation where we are like, I want to live longer. I want to be healthier. So what the heck should I take? Vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin A, B, C? I have no idea. Wouldn't it be nice if AI could have all your health information and give you personalized information back on which vitamins support your personal health goals? So let's just build that application together today on the call. So this is pretty standard fare. We just pop in some visuals, a logo, a background. We give our application a name. For us, we're going with Vitadoc. And you have some other options. You can change your font, although I like our default font, and add a new website. So this is just to make our application actually look good. And then next, what you want to do is set the basic information on the AI, but we want to train our AI to be useful. So if you ask ChatGPT, for example, anything, it can't really give you good information because it lacks specific training on your company or your goal and user information on who you are. And we will remedy that. So this is the basic informations. You can tell your AI, give it a little bit of context what it is. Let's just tell it to be a friendly healthcare assistant. Let's give it a name. So we call it Michael. And you can give it a first message, like how do we want our chat or application to start up on. And you can see as we make changes to our settings here, this screen in the middle updates, and this is our preview modus. So everything, this is giving you an indication of how your deployed application will eventually look like once it is deployed in Seneca. And so you can play around with it, ask it questions, etc. So now for the interesting part, how do you get your companies or your startups information into the AI? How do you actually train the AI? And we think it should just be simple. So what we did is you can just drop a document into this interface. You see here, this is a regular docx document file. I'll just take this, drop this into our AI model, and you see it appears here. And now with that, we have trained our AI model on the information contained in this document. So this is information that the AI doesn't have, but can now use to give you better recommendations. And the important part is that this information does not go anywhere except on Seneca zero knowledge environments. So that information does not get shared with any other third party. And I'll talk more about that later. And just to give you a quick hint, so this document basically just contains some basic informations on what vitamins to take under what health circumstances. So now that we've trained our AI up with some background data, we also want the users to contribute their personal, private, sensitive data because they can. Because on Seneca, this data does not get shared with any third parties. So what we do is we add certificates. And certificates act like a data sharing mechanism between different decentralized applications on Seneca. So even so, the ones we will be using in this example, which is just your age and your medical health data, these are very basic informations, but it could be as complex as you want. So the more information you give to an AI, the better results you get back. The better it can decide on what information to recommend you. Because there's so much information out there. The only way to narrow it down is to personalize it to you, to hyper personalize it to your specific circumstances. And that's basically it. This is all it takes to build your own decentralized applications. So I would say let's give it a try before we deploy it. We've added all our information, we added our branding, and now here in the middle of the screen, you can talk to ADAI, similar as you are used to talking to Bard or ChatGPT, but in your own application. So, for example, what vitamins can you recommend me? I am a 16-year-old teenager. And I'm choosing this example for a purpose, as you will see in a minute. So you can already see this AI is trained through the information that we provided in our document. It's not just giving you a standard response, but it is told to follow up with you and inquire first with you, what is your goal? Like this is personalization happening. So let's say we want to sleep better. Now the AI has some information about you and can recommend you specific things according to the training it received. And just take a quick note here on what it recommends. So we are a 16-year-old teenager. We want to sleep better, and we are being recommended chamomile extract and valerian root. Just keep that in mind as we move on to actually deploying this application and playing around with other data. So now that we are satisfied with our application, I would say let's deploy it. What happens now is that since the AI model and the smart contract that govern this application live on the Seneca blockchain, of course, you have to go through the usual process as you would be used to from blockchain smart contract deployments. Hey, Michael, I saw someone raise their hand. I'm not sure if you want to pause for questions or if I or have questions afterwards.
Yeah, someone did ask, and good admin note. If you do have a question, you can raise your hand, and we'll get to those. We'll let you ask the question at the when Stefan's gone through. The other thing, somebody just asked a question in the chat. Really good question. So if I'm a user, can the company or the application see my questions?
No, that is one of the core benefits of Seneca, right? This is basically behind everything we're doing. All of this, the data from the company, your user data, anything that you see on the screen gets deployed on a zero knowledge environment on the Seneca blockchain. And what that means is that as soon as it is deployed, the only person having access to all of that data is the AI itself. So whatever information you feed to the AI and whatever recommendation you receive in return, it does not go to any third party, literally anyone. So whoever hosts the AI model does not see the data. The company that deployed this application does not see the data. The only one having the data is the actual model that can't possibly share it with anyone and you. So this is a interaction just between you and the AI in full privacy. Were there other questions? I'm sorry, I think you have to read them to me.
No, that's the only one so far. Yeah.
Okay, so we were in the process of deploying our application, right? So this is a blockchain application, so you have to go through the same process that you're used to. We have to sign up with our wallet to authenticate that we're actually the owner of our key pair. And once we've done that, we're skipping a couple of steps in this demo to make it faster. So of course, deploying the AI model, deploying the smart contract, you'd have to pay gas fees. You'd have to wait for a couple of minutes probably. So what we're showing here right now is, sorry. Okay, now I messed it up, of course. What we're showing here is just like an example of the process, how you would be signing the data. And then after this, it would be starting the setup process. So now all the data is deployed into a smart contract. The AI model is spun up on the blockchain, and the front end of the application is hosted decentralized on IPFS. So this is just an example. You can technically host this application anywhere you want. You can turn this into an Android app. You can just download the files, put it on your desktop and double click it. It would just work. So let's take a look at our application. All right. So you can see here already the branding obviously worked. We see our logo, we see our name, we see our background, all very fancy and nice. And now this is basically from the perspective of a user, right? You as the company, you take this application, you distribute it to your users. Now I'm a person, an end user who wants to have customized vitamin and supplement recommendations based on my health data. I interact with this application. The first thing I have to do again, via in the Web3 world, is connect my wallet. And by the way, we are currently developing a new version of our Vault Plus, which will be much faster and smoother and look much better. So this is still our old version, and I'm super excited to let some of you in next week into the new version and see how that goes. So this is our application. We're in now. You can see here all the customization is there. And now the AI knows the information from the company. It knows what vitamin recommendations to give based on your medical data. What it does not yet know is you. So let's try to work with this as a normal user would be. Can you give me some vitamin recommendations? So, and you see again the training of the AI. It does not know anything about you, so it does not want to make a recommendation. It wants you to first share your age. And what happens here now is, like, you can see here on the left side, the schemas or credentials that we added into our application earlier, and that can be unlocked by the user, and really data can get transferred into the AI. And this is super significant. So on Seneca, no data is stored on any third-party server, right? So your data doesn't sit on AWS or on Google or on Microsoft. We embrace the concept of self-sovereign data, which means that your data exists on your devices that you trust, and you're the owner of it and the only person who can do things with that data. So what I'm doing in this example is I take the data that I store on my secure devices and I share it with the artificial intelligence. Now only the AI knows my age, or any data that I send into this application, no third party again. Now the AI also wants to know what's my goal. Oops. I would love to sleep more soundly. And remember now what in our preview happened. We were recommended chamomile and valerian root, I think. But because the AI now actually knows who you are, it has some data on you, it can make a much better recommendation based on your healthcare data. So in this instance, it recommends magnesium glycinate and lemon balm extract for the simple fact that you're older. And it's important that we will run our imagination wild here a little bit. So I'm going to show you two more things. Let's first ask it, how about improving my memory? So this is, you can just run a regular conversation with this AI. None of the data ever leaves the zero knowledge environment, and the AI can interact on the ways that it is programmed to. But what happens now, and this is the really important part about Seneca and zero knowledge environments and AI. What happens if you share more data with the AI? What would happen if the AI had access to all our healthcare data? And this is, I remind you, this is a very limited demonstration. But technically, nothing prevents you from literally sharing all your data with the AI, because this is all private, secure, and safe, and never gets shared with third parties. So your blood tests, your DNA results, your previous sexual history. What if you could all of that, give it to the AI and get recommendations based on that? So I'm going to show you an example of how this looked like. In this case, we also have the option to share our medical health data with the AI. And I'm going to show how this looks like on our private ledger for a moment. So this is basically a credential, a example credential that contains some data about you, right? You've gotten this data somehow. It doesn't matter for these purposes, but you are already in possession of the data. So I have my credential here, my medical health data, and you can see I'm 65. I have cardiovascular disease, and I take a prescription medicine called metformin. So what now if our AI would know all of these things about us? Let's find out. So I'll approve the request. What you can see here now is that the AI, now that she knows it knows more about who you are, can give you a much better recommendation about your overall situation. And let your imagination run wild. What if the AI really knew everything about you? How personalized could these results be? If it knows your weight and your blood tests, could it mix together a bottle of supplements that match exactly what your body needs, that matches exactly what up to date cutting edge science recommend for you? Probably. The only problem with this is, oh, and you can see this here, right? It says, given your age and medical condition, it's recommended you approach this with caution, right? We're an old guy with a disease, and we're already taking a lot of meds, so we should be careful, right? So the AI obviously figured out that based on our data, we should be cautious. But the problem right now is that all of this, you can't do this anywhere. The problem is that right now, if you have the same thing and you do this in Bard or ChatGPT, your data in the back end of this application gets sold. You're telling Bard that you have cardiovascular disease, then that data goes to Google. Now Google distributes that in their advertising network, and 3 days later, you scroll your Facebook feed and you will see advertisements for cardiovascular disease treatments. That is the world we live in, where Google knows it, Facebook knows it, Mayo Clinic knows it, and probably my grandmother knows it. Simply because all of these things are connected, all of these things share data, and this is where Seneca comes in, and where we hope to change the world, in that with our zero knowledge environments, you can have these hyper-personalized interactions with artificial intelligence without giving up your data, without giving up the ownership of your data, without becoming a slave to the big corporations. So that's all I have so far, and we can have some questions, or we can even play around with this a little bit if anyone wants to ask it anything.
Yeah, Stefan, that's just, I got a question from someone. They wanted clarification. So when you, in the beginning, you had a training set. So that training set is this advice is based off that training set, right? So that, for clarification, would that represent, if I'm a business or I'm a financial planner or an anti-aging consultant and I have my approach, that's essentially what that data set is, right? This is how my model will respond to different, whether it's healthcare situations or vitamin situations. That's how it will, that's what it's trained up on. Is that correct?
Exactly. So basically you give it whatever data you think is relevant for your specific purposes as a company or as a consultant, right? What you think it needs to know to serve your customers well, but it's not limited to that, right? So if you look at the first responses we got, these are based on information we fed it. But actually you still have all the power of AI behind you. This last response, the user sent data that wasn't covered in our instruction set. So the AI took over and made a best guess based on all the knowledge of humanity. So it's a nice combination where you have this mix of private user data, sensitive knowledge that's not openly available, right? Like from a consultant or company, and AI in general, right? That's where the sweet spot hits, right? Where we can really create amazing applications.
Yeah, and someone else is asking, I'll read it. So what if the diet we actually want to take is different than what's recommended? Can it take another way to fulfill the required nutrition in the diet chart with the path the user wants? So I mean, just for clarity, this is, or if the question makes sense, I think it would be entirely up to what it's trained on, but I'll let you take it, Stefan.
Yeah, so just let everyone be reminded that we are not actually in the business of building applications. So this is just an example how an application could look like. So with very limited training data. I mean, this is maybe 200 words of training data, but it doesn't prevent you if you had, say, if you had the resources and the will to give it 1,000 pages of training data to cover every single aspect that you think is important. That's completely possible. Our application is not going to do that because we are probably not specialized enough in vitamins and supplements, but you could totally do that.
So an analog might be, it's trained up to be a financial planner. You give it a goal, and it could say, based on your earning and your assets, you should save X amount per month. And you say, no, I don't want to save X per amount a month. Just as a financial planner might say, okay, well, then you have to do this. That could all be delivered in a model like this because you're training it. you're providing kind of a proprietary approach.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'll add, because this is infrastructure, there's a lot of flexibility for what a business builds here. So a business can essentially, at the end of the recommendations, ask, do you want to order this? And if so, we're sending the order to the company. Or do you want to bind insurance now that we have given you all the recommendations based on your criteria? We need to send something over to the company, and the same kind of signature request will come to your wallet if it is requesting your name or some information that actually will go out of the structure to a company. And so a company can build this in a way that that preserves full privacy. And if there's a next step, which is in this case would be, company could be selling vitamins that's building this, and they want to sell some vitamin. But if they need to send a physical product to a person, they need to know something about them, either an address, where they're sending it to, et cetera. And that whole exchange can be designed and built into the infrastructure, and the user's data is still fully in their control if anything comes out of the environment. And I think that part is pretty powerful, because we as building the infrastructure are not dictating how an app, what it should look like or how it should be structured. We're giving the flexibility to, as Stefan was saying, enable application environment that is just simply impossible today with cloud or existing blockchain environments.
Yeah, and Stefan, you stopped sharing your screen. So, Stefan, I think just demonstrated, or you did ask it a different question, and it flexed on the go.
I mean, it is AI, right? It has all the power that we know and love from AI. It just has more power because now it can know you, and you can be confident sharing data without being worried of what happens with the data, right? You could share your social security number with it, like it would be fine. Not sure why anyone would do that.
Okay. So I'll put Adam on the spot with this one, because someone is asking for our roadmap, and I know the roadmap is going to be published shortly in the light paper. So can we give a date on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, for the light paper, it's finished. We published a version before. We've completely updated basically the entire light paper from feedback and community questions, and just advancement in our platform. So that new version is being released and will be in our docs page and on our site and shared fully open to the public. The target is within a week. We are big picture roadmap. We're building towards a mainnet and a mainnet token launch around the end of the year timeframe. We'll have some announcements around that, and earlier kind of launch timeline over the next few days, which is going to be some exciting announcements coming. And then we almost on a weekly basis are shipping. I mean, on a daily basis, we're shipping features. On a weekly basis, we're shipping major kind of product changes, which either are generally in the core or blockchain tools. And as most people know, we have the credentialing part of the blockchain, which is called Mantis. The wallet side, which is really also the control of self-sovereign data, which is called Vault Plus, and our schemas and all of the various tools kind of built in the chain that we're constantly updating. Stefan mentioned earlier an update to the Vault, which you'll see soon, including on the iOS side. So the rate and pace of new products and coming out on our team is very rapid, and and as I said, there'll be some bigger announcements coming over the next few days also. This particular dApp built on the platform will also be released to the public, and will be constantly built and improved on. It's designed essentially to, like, if Stefan wasn't talking and just going through it, the entire experience of building that dApp would have taken under a minute. Training the data, designing it, and deploying it. It means nothing. It's seconds, and that, we're, as a company, we are entirely focused on, like, how to make blockchain technology simple for real world applications, and that's what we're doing here.
It's awesome. And so, people understand, we've had our partners on the enterprise side who see what's happening in AI, but feel somewhat handcuffed because of all of these issues that we talked about, right? They don't want their algorithms and proprietary information being sucked up. But at the same time, they know that there is a much better solution that they can offer to customers as well. But there's all of this data that's required. I mean, you saw Stefan share medical records, right? That is extremely sensitive, and sensitive to the point where if you do want custom vitamins, you oftentimes, you've got to enter into an agreement or take a blood test with a vitamin company, which is ridiculous when you think about that data already existing. So it's really exciting, and a ton of the anxiety that you see out there about AI is eliminated with this infrastructure. So, thanks a lot, Stefan, for sharing.
Yeah, they have these vitamin recommendation websites, and they'll ask you 5 questions and then say, here are the vitamins we recommend, and it's usually one of the 5 they're selling. And in this case, there's a company that startup that we were working with that was developing some of this with us, that essentially their philosophy is entirely different. Like, how do we take into account your blood tests and your DNA and your medical history and exactly what you want to do in life and everything else? But no one's ever going to share that with anyone. Certainly not a startup, but even a big company. You're not going to start giving your data. And even if you are willing to, the risk of it being out there in the world, the time that it takes to upload all that data and to figure out how to do it is enormous. And here, this data is stored on your own, wherever you want, your own computer or your phone or wherever you want the data stored. And then all you're doing is connecting your wallet into the structure, into the app, which is not on a company server, and it's not on OpenAI server. It's on chain. All the analysis happening in the smart contract, and so that experience is just entirely opens up entirely new types of applications like this, where it becomes much more powerful. Yeah, it's exciting. Exciting to see what's possible. It takes the excitement of, I think, that everyone has in this category, AI, and amplifies it, because now you can add personal and private data as a consumer, and 2 companies interacting with each other. This is the other problem that we've constantly heard, where one company is doing business with another and wants some information. The bigger company is maybe asking the smaller contractor, send me your finances. I want to make sure you can work with us, or send me some information so I can calculate how much money you owe us, or tell me who your other partners are, or other constant requests of data. And providing these zero knowledge environments is just a major step forward. And as we tie them into AI, I mean, all of these integrated together, I think is where the excitement comes out. So this is the beginning. We want the community to build with us on this, and that's why we're making these tools available for people to build and see where it takes us.
That's great. Thank you, Adam. We're bumping up against the end of the time, but I do have another question from somebody and maybe Stefan, you can take this and then we can wrap it up unless anyone has any other questions, which is, people have heard, I think this is what they're getting at. People have heard of zero knowledge proofs, and you were talking about the zero knowledge environment. Is that unique and proprietary to Seneca?
Yeah, so technically seen, zero knowledge proofs are used for blockchains as a scalability solution, right? They're used to how to make blockchains faster. But if you go into this idea of how to make data private from all parties around, it quickly becomes more complex than that. So zero knowledge environments actually don't use zero knowledge proofs. They can be used to, within your zero knowledge environment, you can create a zero knowledge proof and put that on the chain to prove a certain fact to a certain person. But zero knowledge environments by itself, like, enforce privacy and data ownership within their respective data environment without zero knowledge proofs, right? And how that exactly works depends on the underlying system. So, for example, on the Seneca blockchain, your smart contract and your artificial intelligence model is protected by trusted execution enclaves. For how this looks like in your private ledger, it could be different depending on where your data sits. So, for example, in our Vault Plus wallet, it is mostly cryptographic encryption.
Okay, awesome. Well, unless anyone has any questions, I think we're at the end. We're went over on time a couple minutes. That was awesome, Stefan. Thanks for sharing with us. If anybody has questions, reach out to us or get us on Discord, where we're very active, and we want to see people deploying this and building apps for whatever, as Stefan said, wherever your imagination takes you. So this is great. Thank you.
I hope you're making a better vitamin app than us.
Right.
Excellent. All right, y'all. Thank you very much.